This month marks the 20th anniversary of the fantasy space series Star Ocean. The original game launched on the Super Famicom in Japan on July 19th, 1996. Now, I know what you may be saying to yourself. Usually I'm pretty good with releasing these retrospectives on the birthday, essentially, but because of projects keeping me behind, it took me a while to get this through the ranks. Anyway, so this is a project that was helmed by Tri-Ace since its inception and published by Square Enix, which began as Enix and Square Enix, whatever. Semantics aside, despite its long lineage, there are actually only 6 main games in the franchise, not counting the remakes, of course, or the mobile trading card game. They may differ slightly, but each main entry is an action RPG similar to the Tales of games. Now, I'll be talking about my personal feelings on the series, but first, I'm going to give you a little bit of info dump just to give you all a little perspective on the games. The first game I already mentioned, but on July 30th, 1988, the next installment, Star Ocean: The Second Story, launched on the PS1. This also marked the first game to launch outside of Japan with a US debut on May 31st, 1999. 1 year after that, it hit Europe on April 12th, 2000, also marking that territory's first entry. Every game in the series takes place in the same universe, but with a new cast of characters, similar to Final Fantasy in some regards. That is, except for the third entry, Star Ocean: Blue Sphere. This direct sequel to the second story launched on the Game Boy Color on June 28, 2001, and has yet to be released elsewhere. Multiple fan translation projects have been in the works, but none of them have been completing up to this point. And now we've arrived to my first foray into the series with Star Ocean Till the End of Time for the PS2. It originally launched on February 27, 2003 in Japan, August 31st, 2004 in the US, September 30th, 2004 in Australia, and October 1st, 2004 in Europe. And yes, this was Australia's first Star Ocean. Star Ocean: The Last Hope for the Xbox 360 marks the closest set of launch dates up to this point. It released in Japan on February 19th, 2009, the US on February 23rd, 2009, Australia on June 4th, 2009, and Europe on June 5th, 2009. It serves as the first prequel to the original Star Ocean, some 300 years before those events. It marks a dark time in my gaming career, but more on that later. Finally, we arrive at the present day with Star Ocean Integrity and Faithlessness on the PS4. After 7 years of being dormant, it has returned with a lackluster set of approval. Be that as it may, let's get to the facts out of the way first. It initially launched in Japan on March 31st, 2016, the US on June 28th, 2016, and Europe on July 1st, 2016. No Australia date has been released yet. Plot-wise, it's an intraquel taking place between Second Story and Till the End of Time. With those facts out of the way, let's finally get to my nostalgia. As I mentioned earlier, Till the End of Time was the first game I played in the franchise. I actually tried renting Second Story from a gas station a year prior, but they only had the second disc, to which the clerk did not understand why I needed both. Anyway, I borrowed Till the End of Time from a friend and was enthralled. At that point, I was RPG and anime crazy, taking anything I could get and eating up hungrily. I had very fond memories of the game, save for the ending. Replaying it now for this retrospective left a sour taste in my mouth. The beginning, for example, takes forever. Not only that, but the cutscenes are frequent and long, the dialogue is awful. I didn't play much of it, just enough to jar my memory though. Gameplay remains solid, albeit simple. Point is, Till the End of Time is not as great as I remember. The next two games are still probably the best in the series before it tried to reinvent itself. Those would be the PSP remakes of the first and second game. I got them both when each launched on the system, respectively in 2008 and 2009. As a college student, I found portable games, especially those in the RPG genre, a lot easier to digest than bigger console experiences. Replaying them now, well, they're both pretty great and are worth tracking down. Sadly, you can't play them on the PS Vita, even though there's a lot of backwards compatible PSP games that you can buy, but they just aren't in the store. You can find them on Amazon, and they don't seem to be that high of a price, but still, you do need the PSP to play them, so good luck with that. But seriously, those are the two games if you really want to jump into the series to, get acquainted with. Let's get to the dark horse in the room, which is The Last Hope. Now, when I started ReActionExaminer 2011 to accompany my writing on Examiner, I used it primarily for big topics and covering the news in the gaming industry. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, and how many of you have stuck by me for that long, but Anyway, in 2012 I decided to tackle reviews. Earthbound was my first review. My second was The Last Hope. Having bought it on the cheap, I had high hopes from my experiences with the PSP remakes. The further I dug in, the more I hated it. Awful voice acting, drawn-out cutscenes, sluggish combat, ugly environments, and the list goes on. I played 20 hours until I got to a point where the game kept on crashing. Cleaning it did nothing, as I wasn't having fun anyway, and because I figured I saw most of what the game had to offer already, I decided to review it as is. To those curious, I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. As for Blue Sphere, well, because it wasn't translated, I really didn't play a lot of it. I actually like the look of it for a Game Boy Color game. It seems to be a little bit simpler in terms of its battle system, and there's actually a lot of classes. I really want to play this game a lot, because I think, it has a really good look to it, and I did enjoy the combat from what I could understand. Again, I won't go into too much detail because I just, really dabbled in it, and I have no opinion really. Concrete, I should say. And we again come to the present with the newest game, Integrity and Faithlessness. Granted, I have only played about 5 hours of the game since launch, but after reading reviews and general reactions from the public, it remains clear that this is a sad game to release on the franchise's 20th anniversary. The combat is as fun as ever, and I actually like the look of the environments and characters. It also moves quickly and relatively shorter than its counterparts. The jarring thing is its presentation in regards to the story. There aren't any cutscenes, instead the narrative is told like Half-Life. This popularized the method of telling the story through gameplay contextually and without cinematics to interrupt progress. However, this makes Integrity and Faithlessness feel less important due to poor framing and because the dialogue comes out abruptly, not to mention the story itself isn't really engaging. Suffice it to say, Integrity and Faithlessness may be the last game in the franchise until Square Enix decides to give it another shot in time for the next big anniversary in 2021, which is, yes, 5 years away. That's just my theory anyway, but perhaps they should let it fade into obscurity like a star-going supernova. It would have been nice to see the series go out with a bang on those terms, but life is rarely that cosmically complete. Did you know that was a ReActionExaminer video? If you liked it, you should subscribe to me to keep up with everything that I'm doing. Also, if you have some other interests, like sex for example, check out Tom Ups, which is a comedy sex podcast thing wherein my best friend and I check out the weird and abnormal and the erotic. And of course you should support me on Patreon because hey, I want to make the channel better and I want your help to do so. Plus, if you want to check out my writing, check out Game Jerk where I have archives and new stuff for all projects, okay? You can find all the stuff and more in the description with the links below. Thanks for watching and I will see you all next time.